Kufar Akbar, everybody. Welcome to the Cross and the Crescent discussion group. We are here every Tuesday afternoon at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time and every Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And Chris Claus hit it on the head. The best intro on YouTube ever. And Chloe said it too. Way to go. And I was thinking about changing the music to tone it down a little bit.
Nah,
the pictures
don't do that.
to make it a little less Islamophobic.
No
For
way.
about 2 seconds, I thought, no, that ain't gonna happen. That is like the
Jeez.
best intro that's out there, and I appreciate you doing that for us, Connie. I really love that thing, and so does everybody else.
Hey, you're the mastermind. I tell everybody, you were the mastermind. You know,
Yeah, but
I
you
just put your mind together.
You took my music and told me it sucked, and that you were going to get something appropriate. And that music is what does when those pictures hit. That music's sitting there slamming it, so it's really good, and I appreciate that. Okay, well, welcome everybody.
Helps being a drummer.
You're a drummer?
Oh yes, all my life.
No
Second
kidding.
chair out of 11 drummers.
Wow.
And the first one I couldn't even touch. He had like 4 or 5 brothers that were drummers too. He was awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of in your blood.
It is. Yeah, I was one of those little babies that mom and dad gave me the pots and pans to hit on. And my dad just told me that like about 10 years before he went to the Lord. But yeah, and I was always wondering about that if I was that little baby.
Well, number one, you have to have rhythm in order to do it. Hand-eye coordination and a sense of timing. And I have none. There's no way I could do it. And my son tried playing the drums, and he suffers some of the same ailment as his father did. So he wasn't any good at it either. As a matter of fact, we got a call from the music teacher. Can you please change your son's schedule? He's not working out very well here in band. Why? Well, he has no rhythm. He keeps banging on things, and it's all out of sync. I'm like, all right, fine. We put him in like home ec or something that year. Anyway, okay, so today, what are we going to talk about today? Today we're going to do Mecca Part 2. Did Mecca exist? We started on this on Sunday, and we went through the problems with the Qibla, or not the Qibla, the Quran. We talked about some of the challenges that of the dating, the places that the Hadith, the Quran, and all this supposedly originated from, and the timing of all these writings to include the Sirah, which is the biography of Muhammad. But I wanted to get more into the evidence for it today. So we're going to do a part 2 today. But before we get to that, I actually watched a real good video this morning. Now, I'm sure most of us are familiar with Gary Habermas.
Yes.
Gary Habermas. Okay,
Yes.
his specialty is the resurrection. As a matter of fact, we've done a couple shows here on here, restating what he teaches in his minimalist. He calls it his minimalist facts theory on demonstrating the veracity of the resurrection. Why we should believe in the resurrection as opposed to doubting that something like that ever happened, and how it's more sensical to believe that the resurrection did occur as opposed to saying that it didn't occur. But he was talking about something this morning that got me really excited, and I was listening to that, went in and took a whole bunch of notes from it, and that's going to be what Sunday's show is going to be about, and it's going to be about the creeds and the confessions that we find in the New Testament. And when we go in there and we look at these, because one of the most often heard complaints, objections to Christianity by Muslim apologists and polemicists is that the information that we have for the emergence of the early church history is much, much too late, written much, much, much too late. And we've been through that 100 times as far as dating the Gospels, dating the epistles, and things of this nature. But these creeds that we find within the epistles, the creeds that we find within the Gospels, the creeds that we find within the history, the Acts, predate, according to Habermas, and this is what he said: critical scholarship, not evangelical scholarship, but critical scholarship that is critical of the Christian faith, are dating these creeds, many of these creeds, prior to Paul having his Damascus Road experience. So you're dating these things essentially 2 to 3 years to the cross. And if you have creedal development, confessional development with that short a period of time, you don't get better attestation as far as demonstrating the veracity of a faith or the historicity or the historicalness. Is that a word? That's not even a word, but you know what I'm saying. The
Historical
verified
value.
Okay, the historical value of documents. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend Sunday talking about that. And which
Do you want me to say it for you, Eric?
Say what?
Historicity.
Historicity. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Paul, okay. Paul's blushing because he hates that word.
I don't like the word. I don't know why. It's hard. Besides being hard to say, it's hard to communicate. I think that's part. That's
it's like the T is silent. Historicity.
Historicity.
That's it.
I don't think it communicates well to people who don't understand the term. That's all.
Well, listen. I mean, but just saying it though makes you feel like a pseudo scholar. The historicity of the event is verified. You know, that sounds pretty important by saying that word. We know the truth. Okay, so let's jump over here to so that's going to be Sunday. So if anybody has anything that they want to contribute to these things beforehand, I was able, and I'm pretty proud of myself to have this out there this early, a topic of the show this early, because John Isaac, I see you there, John. He's gotten on me before, have you not, John, about not getting the show topic out until like 3 minutes prior to the show.
What do you say, Eric? I didn't hear you. No. I'm just so busy.
We've had conversations before where you've wanted the topic for the show, because I've asked you to participate more in the show because you're absolute golden here when you do. But you said, yeah, I'd be willing to participate more if you would tell me beforehand what the topic is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now you know what the topic is on Sunday.
Yeah. I know it's Mecca history of Mecca, and now is part 2.
That's today, right?
Yeah.
And I think I announced Sunday that today was going to be part 2. I think I did a good job of doing that. But next Sunday is going to be Creeds and Confessions of the Early Church. Let's see. If you need your dissertation on the crucifixion, right? Oh, yeah. Thank you, Chris. Chris, can you put that in an email for me, Chris? Because I can't, for some reason, I can't cut and paste that. Because he has Gary Habermas's dissertation on the crucifixion. Gary is right. This guy's got OCD big time. He is writing a book on the resurrection. He said he's up to 4,700 pages.
Wow.
Encyclopedia sets aren't that big, for crying out loud. 4,700 pages on the resurrection. And some of the references that, I mean, this guy, like I tell you, this guy's meticulous. And Chris is absolutely, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. This guy is meticulous in his citations. He actually writes books with bibliographies in them, unlike this book. Hold on, let me get this book over here. No, that book right there. You know, I got notifications on YouTube. Let me see if I can bring this up. Notifications on YouTube this morning, or not YouTube, on Facebook. What the heck? Am I on the right account here? About a certain troll that likes to lurk in the depths about. He's created a Facebook page. The name of the Facebook page is well, let me re-forward this that way I can refuting the cross and the crescent. That's the name of the Facebook page.
Should be Marshall Gregory.
No, that you think that's Marshall?
Yeah. I saw his post a long time ago on this page, trying to refute your posts or your shows, but he is just copy paste machine.
He's not what?
He is just copy paste machine.
Yeah, you're right. He is, and that's what leads me to believe that somebody else is helping him. Somebody that actually can put, construct sentences properly and put 2 or 3 words together so they sound coherent. And I'm pretty sure we know who that certain person would be. But he's sent me. He's posting. How do I put this? He's posting all kinds of things out there on this Facebook page. He made this Facebook page refuting the cross and the crescent. Let's see. He was writing about the show that we did on Sunday, so that tells me that he's trolling. And he's also commented upon on other shows that we've done, and he's even upset. Hold on, let me see if I can make this bigger. He's even the reason what made me remember this is he was upset about me putting a pig on this guy's book, and he says that this is the maturity level of these Christians. Why don't they act Christ-like? And we did a show on being Christ-like and what it means to be Christ-like, and it means not to sit there and take any crap from punks out there. I shouldn't have said it. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, you haven't done anything. You haven't put a real physical pig on there.
No, and actually, a consideration was to put a Quran there, but I thought, that why push that button? It isn't.
Take a picture of an actual pig sitting on it.
Yeah, that would. I mean, that's it. That's just. I don't need that type of headache. And what's the purpose? Is just to offend all Muslims? Well, this is just offending one, because he doesn't know how to properly cite references in his book. So why offend 1.8 billion of them? Ed, did you have something to say?
Yeah, we hear you, Ed.
Okay, yeah, my mic wasn't working. I was just trying to get it to work. Sorry.
Okay. Well, welcome to the show. Okay, so let's that's not working, is it? You have to hit share. There you go. Share screen. There we go. Okay, so this is some of this is my stuff, but some of this stuff is indeed Jay Smith stuff. As I told you, I've been taking these classes every Monday evening for the past, well, it's been over a year. Every quarter that Jay and Dr. Janicek are presenting out at Veritas University out in California, and they send out the videos of the lectures themselves that they do on Zoom. And then they also send out the slideshows. And then when I get to the slideshows, they tell you you can do whatever you want with them. Just make sure make sure you're providing proper attribution. So when I do these things, of course, I'm going to say who wrote these slides, and it is Jay Smith. So, or some of the work that's in the slide, not all of it. All right, so let's go. Oops, where is my laser pointer? And of course, why the historical critique? Why not? What is its real value? And the reason why we do a historical critique is because the very foundations of Islam itself are reliant on the historicity, Paul, the historicity of the existence of Mecca. It's dependent upon that because all of the ahadith literature, the Sirah literature, the Tasfir literature refers to the city of Mecca. And it is central. It plays a central role in Islam itself. And this is, you don't have to worry about being called an Islamophobe when you present these things, because when you present history, real history, actual history, you can't be called well, you can't. Trust me, you can still be called a name for it. You might be an Islamophobe if you say something ill of Islam. You might be an Islamophobe if you doubt Muhammad is so that you can make up anything, I guess. But it is politically correct. Anytime that you criticize Muhammad, that's not politically correct. Anytime that you criticize the Quran, that's not politically correct. But this is politically correct, because it doesn't attack Muslims, and it can't be classified as hate speech or Islamophobic by any reasonable thinking human being. And it's so easy to communicate. Even a kafir like myself can do it because it's visual, and everybody gravitates towards visual learning. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a peek at Mecca. Where is the wall, though? Now, when we ask who lived in around Mecca during the 7th century, where do we get our information? Let me just field this question real quick before we jump into that. Where do we get the historical information for the people that lived in Mecca during the 7th century and prior to the 7th century? Where does that information come from?
Muslims.
Does it come from just Muslims, though? I mean, you would expect it to come from Muslims because Muslims live in Saudi Arabia. They live there.
No, not just the Muslims. We definitely get it from other, how do I say this, other archaeologists. Archaeology is really a big thing about that, and that's why one of the reasons why you're not allowed to dig in Mecca, right?
You're making assumptions, but I agree. Yes, and we're going to talk about that. But when we look at where we get the history for the existence of Mecca prior to the 7th century, the only place, and when I say the only place, I mean the only place that comes from is from the Takrif, the Sirah, and Ahadith. Nothing comes from anywhere else. There is no historical, no direct, let me make maybe more concise here. There's no direct references to Mecca prior to the 7th century by anybody. And the ones that people claim are references, when we analyze them, like we're going to tonight, aren't references at all. And we're going to get to those. So let's make sure that we understand there is no literature out there that covers Mecca. None. It only comes from Islamic sources. Okay, so when we look at Mecca, in the Quran itself, it has only 65 geographical references to it. Only 9 of these places are named, and they're just referring to people, the people of Ad, the people of Talmud, the people of Midian, the people of, let's see, it has 3 civilizations located near Arabia, but not near Mecca. So all of these people groups right here that are mentioned in the Quran are mentioned elsewhere in other literature. But Mecca, surprising enough, is not mentioned. Don't you find that just a little bit peculiar? Of course you do. Why? Because you're thinking about it. And also, look at these people groups right here. These people groups that they're mentioning exist 600 miles north of Mecca. Isn't that troubling? Isn't that peculiar? If you have a book being written about these and mentions these people groups several times, 24 times for the Nabateans, 23 times for the people of Ad, 7 times for the Midianites, but only mentions Mecca 1 time, doesn't that sound a little bit peculiar? Wouldn't your antenna for questioning things kind of perk up? Of course not, if you actually believe this. So let's look at the comparison here. The Quran has 65 geographical references, and compared to just to the Gospel of Luke, and we've done this before, but I just read it out of a book. I put it up here on the screen now. Now you have 110 from the Gospel of Luke. The Gospel of Luke alone. The Quran names 9 of those places. The Gospel of Luke names 31 of those places. And the Quran mentions these places 600 miles too far. The places that Luke mentioned, they're right exactly where they're supposed to be. They're not 600 miles away. They're only where they're supposed to be. And they're known places by the people that lived at that time and in that area. So in the Quran, they're in all the wrong places, and in the Bible, they're all in the right places. Now, when we think of Mecca, this is what it looks like outside of Mecca. Notice the pristine farmland, the forestation, the pools of water, the grass,
the olive trees.
The olive tree there. Hold on. Is that an olive tree up? That okay, we just can't see it from here. That might be an olive tree up there. I don't know. But notice how much is growing out there. And this is what this was what's so neat about Sunday when Adam came on and he referenced Surah 105. I thought that was just kind of a story that was maybe from the Hadith. I didn't realize it was in the Quran. You guys that are smart probably realized it was in the Quran. But you have an elephants in Mecca. And
I need hundreds of liters to survive each day, just to drink, not just to bathe in.
You need you know how much those hamajamas eat a day? They eat like 250 pounds of food a day. Now, how are you going to feed an elephant in a place like this? How are you going to do it? And Paul, how much water did you say it was? How many?
I think it was 150 liters minimum, I think.
Okay, hold on.
Call Uber. The Uber driver brings the food.
Oh, they fly it in on the Barak, man. They fly it in on the Barak. I told you guys.
See, well, our past president is pretty busy flying.
It's just that DoorDash thing. I mean, they could have called DoorDash and said, "Hey, DoorDash, there you go, bring it for the." So this is okay. We talked about what I'm doing with this, but anyway, I was doing some research on that. And are you kidding me? I didn't realize they ate that much food. That's probably why they're as big as elephants, is because they eat all that food every day.
Yeah, to maintain the body weight. That's the issue. I mean, you got to be able, and that amount of water is necessary for circulation
and cooling them. And if you don't know anything about Mecca, it's hot. Also, I didn't realize this. They eat for anywhere between 14 to 16 hours a day. That's what they spend the majority of their day doing, is eating, shoving food in their mouth.
Can't doubt it, because they're so big. I mean, you got to think about that.
No wonder why Mecca's so barren.
The elephants went through there and ate all them olive trees. That's why we don't see them there. The elephants ate the olive trees.
I think they'd be awful oily, but
okay, so
I'd hate to see what they left behind.
You hate to see what again? What was that?
I hate to see what they left behind, but yeah, in fact, elephant poop. I mean, it's really clean. That's the other thing, which is because there's such a. I mean, it's one of those things you actually see. There's pictures and stuff of kids actually doing playing with. I mean, elephant poop. So you got to think about that one. But the idea is. There's nothing there for them to eat. They can't survive. That's the real truth of the matter.
Okay, so how are kids playing with elephant poop? What do they do? Is this after it dries out, kind of like a cow patty?
Well, you think about what cows eat. Cows process a little bit differently than elephants, but yeah.
Okay, all right. Let's just get off this topic about.
And it's good for composting too. If you used elephant dung, your plants will actually grow bigger. Because of course they have bigger enzymes.
Don't forget you can barbecue with it.
Right, it burns. That's one of the things that I used to teach about the Oregon Trail, is that they burn buffalo dung in order to heat their food or cook their food.
Yes,
because it burns really hot. Oh, God. Okay, let's get off this topic. All right, let's move to something a little less disgusting.
Back into the existence or non-existence of Mecca.
Right. Okay, so let's look at the maps. What do maps say? Now let's think about this just for a second. If we were to get a map of Palestine today, or Palestine back in, let's say, 200 BC, do you think the city of Jerusalem would be on that map?
How far back?
Yeah.
200 BC.
Before Christ? Oh, yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Even 1,000.
400 BC?
Yes.
700 BC.
Yes.
And the reason why we would think that is because it's in the Bible. We would think that you would have, if there was maps developed at that time. I don't know when they started making maps and when they started developing them, but if they were going to develop a map, we would think that Jerusalem would have to be on that map, and it would have to be on that map because it played a prominent role in, number one, it was in the middle of a trade route coming in from Syria down into North Africa. So it was kind of in a juncture in between all of these places. So it would be on a map because it was on the way there. You would think it would be there. But Mecca supposedly was this giant trading city, the mother of all cities, which we're going to talk about here in a second, isn't on a flippin' map until the 9th century. When we look at these maps, 6th and 7th map, because remember on Sunday we were talking about we're not going to be accepting any evidence for the existence of Mecca for anything that was written in the 9th and 10th century, because that is, you can redact anything that you want to. What we want is to use the historical methodology to get as close to the event as possible. So when we look at Mecca today, this is a facsimile of a map from the 7th century, a Byzantine map. So when we look at all of these cities down here in southern Arabia, here's Medina right here, Yathrib, that's Medina. And you have the Gulf of Aqaba here. You have this Gulf of Suez here, the Red Sea. And you have some of these other major cities, but what's not there? What's not there?
Mecca's not there.
Mecca's not there. Here's another one. This is a modern facsimile from an Arab trade route. If you look at Arab trade routes, you can look at some of these cities here. Here you have Medina. Here's Khaybar. Here's some of these other cities. Here's Gaza. Here's Jerusalem. What's not there?
Mecca.
Mecca is not on this map either. Here's another one from the 6th century. You see Mecca there anywhere? No, not there either. Here's one from the 7th century. Mecca there? Not there. Here's another one from the 7th century. Or is that the same one? I think that's the same one. Is that the same one? Close enough. Anyway, it's not on any map, no map, prior to the 7th century. If Mecca was supposed to be this city that has this Kaaba, this religious shrine that is so popular that everybody supposedly was writing about, you would think it would be on a map. If it was this place that people were making, all of these people in Arabia were making this pilgrimage to because of all the 360 idols that supposedly were in it, and they would make a pilgrimage there every year, or every so often at least, you would think it would be on a map somewhere. If Mecca was there, you would think that people, as they were making a pilgrimage there, would have scratched something on a stone, maybe a rap song of some sort, saying, hey, I'm on my way to Mecca. I'm going to be there before Mecca. Whatever the heck, they would have put something down somewhere. But there's nothing there. It's like one giant black hole.
Yeah, so, you know, those, history, you know, with those maps that you're showing, you know, it's just proven how much they want to use, you know, boasting and pride. Well, pride puffs up, and those maps are just proving that it's popped. You know, it was just all a lie.
Well, this is how history is done. I mean, you look at contemporaneous writings at the time, manuscripts, you look at things like maps, you look at things like archaeological digs, coins, which was a big part of Jay Smith's presentation here, but I cut it out. It was like 40 slides. And I'm like, dude, I ain't going there. I don't have time to do the coins. But coins play a major role in all of this. Yes. None of it. There's nothing there, though. If there's nothing there, that should at least cause some people some concern, or at least develop some type of intellectual integrity to seek out what evidence there is, and then try to drill down on that evidence to use it to justify the existence of Mecca, your main city, the city that you bow to 5 times a day. But it's not
Yeah,
there.
and aren't they saying that Adam and Eve landed there from heaven?
Right. It's the oldest city on
Right.
earth because Adam and Eve went there. Adam was taking, I don't know, 300-foot steps. He was supposed to, what was he, like 90 feet tall or something like that?
Yeah, they claim that.
What, you doubt that?
Another boasting.
Wouldn't that be like evolution? We shrunk down to the current size where we are now. Some of these claims you just can't. I don't know. I just can't get there. I don't know how they cope with them either, because some of them are just so outlandish. Like, I don't know, elephants in Mecca ever.
Right.
Oh,
and that's why a lot of them are leaving Islam, because they're using their mind, they're wanting to get honest, and they're leaving Islam. So I commend them, and a lot of them are coming to Christ.
Yeah, and this is the problem that, what they're running into, is that they're encountering an educated West, a literate West, a Western society that provides them instant access to this type of information should they desire to actually look at it and evaluate it. And when you look at the numbers as far as converts and reverts in the West, you have just as many converts as you do, reverts as you do I said that wrong. Reverts and apostates. You have just as many people apostatizing from Islam in the West as you do converting to it. And it's getting to be as, was that Siraj Wahhaj or Bilal Phillips? One of the two said it's going to be like a tsunami.
Yes, Bilal Phillips.
Okay.
He says that.
It's going to be like a tsunami. It's just going to wipe them out. And that tsunami is growing every single day that we keep doing stuff like this. And yes, anything to get them off that rock and move them to the solid rock of Christ. Yes, we shall do. Okay, let's see. Oh, what is this? UA says, I worked with, hold on, I'm going to put that up there. That's kind of interesting. I worked with Bilal Phillips' son in Riyadh. What's his son do? It doesn't matter. I don't want to pry into that, but that's kind of an interesting data point there. Okay, so let's take a look at these Qiblas. Now, we've discussed Qiblas several times on the show, and we've actually had Dan Gibson on this show about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago. Dan was on the show, and we talked about the Qiblas. We talked about his research. We talked about the geography, and then we also dipped our toe in the idea that it is Petra that was supposed to be the location that was discussed in the Quran, in the historical literature, but it was redacted back to Mecca. And Dominic on Sunday did a great job of putting us back there. He said, look at these dynasties. Look at these two competing dynasties. Look where they're located. Why do you think that they want to move them away from the other? Why do you think if it was supposed to be in Petra, don't you think that the Abbasid dynasty, or not, I'm sorry, the Umayyad dynasty would have wanted to have it moved away? And it makes sense. Mm-hmm. Jake Smith gets into that. I don't get into the nooks and crannies of that because there's just too many details for me to pay attention to. But if you start thinking about it as competing dynasties, it actually does. It does make some sense. Okay, so let's look at these Qiblas. Now, first off, a Qibla. A Qibla is a direction of prayer. It is the direction that Muslims face 5 times a day when they say their ritual prayers. When they do the exact same thing that Jesus commanded them not to do in Matthew chapter 5, they do. They
Antichrist.
They pray collectively, and they say the same exact things, thinking it's going to do them some type of good. But anyway, they pray in this direction 5 times a day. Now, this direction was changed. I think the direction was changed in 621. I'm willing to be wrong on this. By Muhammad, saying that you need to find a new Qibla or a better Qibla, and that Qibla was changed from Jerusalem to Mecca. So he changed the direction of prayer, and then from that time forward, Muslims have been praying towards Mecca, the Kaaba, and that magic stone that's inside the Kaaba. Now, of course, they're never going to admit that they're praying to a stone. They're praying to a tent in the middle of the desert in Saudi. They're never. And I wouldn't either. I wouldn't admit that either. But the fact of the matter,
when
is,
they leave, they do. When they leave, they do. They say, yes, we were worshiping. I've talked to many Muslims, and they say, yes. Oh, once they left, yes, we were worshiping those stones.
When they leave Islam, is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yes, when they left Islam, they admit it. Wow. They admit it. And I always say, why didn't you admit it before that time? He says, because, I just denied it. They just say, we just deny it.
There's so much quibbling about the Qibla. That's funny, Darcy. Right? Yeah, I like that one. Okay, so let's go back to Dan Gibson's research. So the Qiblas. This is archaeology here. If you want to start demonstrating the veracity for your faith, then you have to come up with archaeological evidence. And so what Dan Gibson has done is he's gone digging in the dirt in and around the Middle East, and all over the world, as a matter of fact. And he's gone into some of these ancient mosques and tried to discover where their direction of prayer was, because there's a niche in the wall indicating which direction they play. Now, all of the Qiblas, this is so critically important, all of the Qiblas that they have, even clear out here into Ganzhou, China, all of these Qiblas are facing, the one in Sana'a, the one in Medina, are facing Petra, all the way up to 706. Now, Muhammad, folks, you got to understand the timeline here. Muhammad died in 632. If all of your Qiblas, all of the directions of your prayer, even from Medina, where Muhammad lived, do not face Mecca, I mean, that's kind of like a no-brainer. It faces the opposite direction of Mecca. The mosque that is in Medina faces the opposite direction of Mecca. And all of these other ones scattered across the globe that are dated prior to 706 AD do not face Mecca. Period. Not one. Some of the Qiblas that were constructed between 706 and 772 face at an in-between direction between Petra and Mecca, but not Mecca, and not Petra, but not Mecca. That is problematic. Look at the date on that.
Wow, way past, over 100 years past Muhammad's death.
140 years.
40, yes, sir.
Yeah, 140 years after Muhammad. They only start facing Mecca in 727, almost 100 years. This is 100 years too late, folks. 100 years pass. Your four rightly guided caliphs are dead. You're in the middle of the Umayyad dynasty, or towards the tail end of it, or you have the Abbasids coming in. Actually, if you get to 876, so you have these two competing dynasties have already passed, for Pete's sake, before they get this Qibla finally facing Mecca. This is incredible evidence against the idea that Mecca existed in the 7th century.
Yes.
When you get to this evidence right here, where all of them do not face Mecca up to 706, all of them, not some of them, not a few of them, all of them do not face Mecca prior to 706. That is a huge problem. That is a monstrous problem, because
damaging.
Muhammad changed the Qibla for them. He said, I'm going to give you a better Qibla. Now,
yeah, when did he say that? In a hadith 250 years later?
I'm not sure. Somebody, I don't know if John could tell us, maybe Steve could tell us when exactly that Qibla direction was changed. Maybe somebody in chat could type it in there. Do a little fact check. What?
624, I believe.
624.
It wasn't Muhammad who changed it. It was Umar.
What?
Umar, the Prophet Umar. He's the one that changed the Qibla. You didn't know about that?
No.
The one that burned all the other Qurans?
No, that's Uthman. No, his companion
okay.
Umar. There's three things that Allah agreed with him. One was the veiling. One was the changing of the Qibla, and the other one was the wives were bitching and complaining, and he said that Allah, perhaps Muhammad would divorce them and Allah would give them better wives.
Okay. My understanding on this was Muhammad. Okay, here we are. Muhammad and the early Muslims in Medina initially prayed towards Jerusalem and changed the Qibla to face the Kaaba in Mecca in 624.
What is that? What are you reading from? A hadith?
That's okay. That's a Google search. However, their citation would be about Islam. Change of Qibla, change 29, chapter 29. Oh, this is straight out of the Quran. It looks
29
like.
what?
Hold on, let me look. 29. Let's see here.
You know I'm back now, right?
Okay. Let's see. No, here we are. Okay. Prophet's true adherence to those who disown him is indeed hard test, but not for those who not guided. Okay. We decreed your former Qibla. This is 2:143. Let's see. Many a time we have seen you turn your face towards heaven. We will make you turn towards a Qibla that will please you. That's 144. So I might be wrong on that. Is that the reference that they would use? Let's see, changing Qibla. And this is an Islamic website. It's muslim.sg, whatever SG is. And they are citing the Qibla has
happened in second year of Hijrah.
It's in what?
Second year of Hijrah, after the Hijrah of Muhammad from Mecca to Medina, after 2 years, Isra and Mi'raj happened and Qibla changed.
Okay, so it was changed by Muhammad.
Yeah.
Okay, so
according to Islamic sources, yes, but according to history and Dan Gibson research, no.
Right, and that's what we're trying to drill down on here.
So something's fuzzy.
Is this change in the Quran? Is that am I right on that? When we cite chapter 2 verses
144,
142, starting there, and it goes down to 153.
Okay, so what does 142 say?
The fools among the people will say, "What has turned them from the direction towards which they were? Say the east and the west to Allah. He guides whom he wills into a straight way, and likewise we have made you a certain central nation, that you may be witnesses against the people, and that the messenger may be witness against you, and we do not appoint the direction which you were on, except that we might know who follows the messenger for him who turns on his heels. And it was a big except to those whom Allah guided, and Allah was not to let your faith be lost. Surely Allah to the people is compassionate and merciful. Indeed, we have seen you turning your face towards heaven, so we have turned you to a direction which will please you. So turn your face towards the forbidden mosque." That right there is facing. They're telling him to face where? The forbidden mosque is Mecca.
Right. Masjid al-Haram, which is okay. But didn't they have a mosque? Didn't they say that Petra was also called the Forbidden City? Some sort.
Yeah, I believe that's true too.
Okay, maybe I'm getting too far down in the weeds here because we're just trying to establish the fact that Mecca was not on any map prior to the 7th century, and even the earliest mosques, when were built, they have a direction for prayer built into the wall, it's a niche in the wall, so you can tell which direction was the prayer. And the direction of all of these prayers was not towards Mecca.
I have a mention. This is off answeringislam.org. It says, this is from, I'm trying to think of the source here. It says, one of these is God's changing of the Muslims. This is from Al-Tabari. One of these is Allah's changing of the Muslims' Qibla, the direction faced in prayer from Syria, that is Jerusalem, to the Kaaba. This was the second year of the Prophet's residence in Medina in Shaban, which began January 28, 624. So you were right about the year. The early scholars disagree as to the date which the Qibla was changed. In this year, the majority say that it was changed halfway through Shaban, 18 months after the arrival of the messenger of Allah in Medina.
Okay, so what year was Hijra? Was that 623 or 621? Okay, I didn't mean to start a quiz here, but I'm just trying to get a timeline set in my mind here, because if you are removed from this city, let's just pretend, okay, let's just pretend we're Muhammad and we have to flee Mecca because we're being persecuted because we're criticizing their gods and they decided to kick us out. And I take all 6 of my followers and I go to Medina, and when I get up to Medina, I'm trying to assume control, to assume power to myself, and then I get this revelation, quote unquote, to change the direction when the Jews in Medina don't start accepting, because I wanted to figure out how long was it after he arrived in Medina where now they're no longer facing Jerusalem for their 5 daily prayers, but now they're turning this to the place that he
Hijra is
fled.
622.
622. Okay, I was wrong both ways. So he's there 2 years, and this is when he starts whacking people, if I'm not mistaken. The Banu Nadir people, weren't they the first ones to be exiled? And then you had the Banu Kanuka, and then you had the Banu Qurayza who were finally massacred. So he starts whacking these people and exiling them almost within a couple of years. So this now makes sense. This makes sense that you would have this story turning the direction of prayer back to a place away from what the Jews, because the Jews are not accepting him anywhere, and since they're not accepting him, they're not going to face the same direction as they will. So now they're going back to Mecca. That makes all the sense in the world. I guess we solved that problem. But the problem that we did not solve, the square that we did not circle for them, it doesn't matter, is the fact that none of the Qiblas face Mecca all the way up to 706. None. Zero, zippo, zilch. This is a geographic. This is geography. This is archaeology demonstrating that your faith system is wrong. It doesn't invalidate the entire faith system. I'm not gonna go as far as that, saying that, but it shows that you have some gaping holes in the historicity, the history of your faith. Dan Gibson did it. Okay, so the other one was a parallel Qibla, a parallel direction. And the reason is because Petra and Mecca is from Petra to Mecca, and they all face that direction. And there was some type of battle going back and forth between the what do you call it? The two dynasties, the Umayyad and the Abbasid dynasties, that these people just wanted to stay neutral in all of this. So instead of taking one pointing towards Petra or one going towards Mecca, they said, well, we'll just face our Qibla in the direction both of these places face each other. So these are 4 Qiblas that Dan Gibson has provided here. And look how early the one here in going towards Petra goes all the way up 125 years after the Hijra, for 125 years. The in-between one goes up to 155. The parallel one goes all the way up to 252. But the Meccan one, look at this. It isn't for 109 years after Hijra. 109 years, folks. That is 100 years.
First generation is gone.
What's that now?
That's the other thing, is that first generation, those companions are all gone.
They're all dead. You're right. You have 100. You have a century before they get the Qibla correct. Does anybody? Is it just me that
No,
that doesn't see the problem with this?
no, it's not only you.
Why? Okay. I know I was on a channel one time on Facebook Messenger where we would have these group conversations with all kinds of Muslims, and it was semi entertaining. It get aggravating sometimes, but that's just the nature of the beast. And I brought this up, and there were no answers for it. And I brought it up several times to the same people. So you would think they would have the intellectual integrity to go back and do some research to shoot me down, shoot this out of the water. Now, I'm not saying just because a couple people on Facebook, can't disprove this, makes it a certainty. But you would have thought that there would have been papers published, polemical or apologetic arguments developed and widely disseminated in order to shut this down. The only thing that I've seen two things come out of this. Number one, they're attacking Dan Gibson. They'll attack Dan Gibson, say he's not, he doesn't have a PhD, so therefore we can't take anything that he says for truth or fact. So having a PhD is the arbitrator between what is truth and what is not. And it absolutely isn't.
Did Muhammad have a PhD? Hello.
Muhammad couldn't even read.
My thoughts on where I don't want to say what I think that PhD represents for him.
Good thing. And then the second thing where I was going with this is that, where was I? I was just talking. What was I just talking about? I just said
where the direction of the Qibla, and they don't refute it.
Okay, so they attack Dan Gibson. They're saying, "Oh well, he uses Google coordinates because he made a comment one time during an argument. Said, look, you want to check the direction? I just go use Google Earth." They said, "Oh, you use Google Earth in order to establish your direction of prayer. Look at you!" And so they bring up all these fallacious arguments against him. And the second reason, or the second thing that they argue, is they will argue that this guy that I can't remember the guy's name, but he did a response to Dan Gibson's work, and this guy is supposed to be the foremost authority on ancient Qiblas, or on the direction of prayer in the history of Islam. And the guy teaches college classes, and it come to find out that this guy hasn't spent a day out there at any of these archaeological sites that Dan Gibson references. He just criticizes Dan for that and calls him a bunch of names. And Dan, when he answers this guy, he makes him look like a blathering fool, because he answers all of his objections to all of these Qiblas. And this is the foremost Islamic expert on Qiblas. Now, I promise you, what they will do is, if you ever get into discussion with somebody, they will reference this guy's arguments, all the while ignoring the response to them and the refutation of those arguments against Dan Gibson's point here. The fact is, they can't get past this fact. The fact is that for 100 years, Muslims were building mosques that we have uncovered, that we have unearthed in archaeological digs, that don't point towards Mecca, that do not, their Qibla, their direction of prayer is not towards Mecca. It's further north. Perhaps Petra. A lot of people have cited Petra as being a place. And if you look at if you read Dan Gibson's work right here, Early Islamic Qiblas, he postulates, I don't like turning around here, he postulates that it is Petra. And it all makes sense when he starts pointing out some of the significant geographical features from that city itself.
Olive trees might actually work then.
Olive trees do work. Tillable soil actually works.
And then they would actually know what it means to till soil.
Yeah.
Having waterfalls and streams.
Right. Having water, having a parallel valley. All of these things work if it's Petra. It doesn't work when it's Mecca. That much we know. And we spent a good time on Sunday demonstrating how pathetic the excuse of Mecca is. Okay, so let's get back to the slideshow here and move on. Let's see here. Some of these things here. Let me see what I had here. I'm sorry. Okay, so all of his Qiblas were facing Petra. They're 250 years late, and here's a great question that I was thinking of today when I put this together. Okay, what was starting to be compiled at this time? Think of this. No, Quran's earlier. What is being compiled 250 years after the death of Muhammad? Exactly. The Hadith. This is where you have Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud, all these compilers of the Quran are compiling this Quran at this time, at the time of 250 years after this. So when you have these directions of prayer changing permanently, it's right at the time of the compilation of the Hadith literature. Isn't that a coincidence? I'm proud of myself for noticing that. Thank you very much. But pride is a killer, so I won't ponder on it too much longer. But way to go, Kafir. Okay, so let's see here. We talked about Mecca. Okay, so maybe this is the direction of prayer. We don't. Oh, this is the mention of Mecca. This is where we start talking about where Mecca is mentioned in the Quran. And you also have this Baca, which is the Valley of Weeping, which is mentioned that one guy was trying to argue. I don't know. I think we were in Clubhouse someplace, and he was trying to tell me that was.
It was last week. It was Sunday. There was somebody here saying it was Baca, not Mecca.
Was he using like Psalm 20 or Psalm 84 for that?
No. He was using the Quran.
Okay. Well, maybe this is a different conversation. I can't remember all these things. Okay. So none of the verses below use the word Mecca. It's only implied. So when you talk about the first sanctuary, that implies Mecca. When you look at the mother of all settlements, that implies Mecca. When you look at where Adam and Eve were thrown down, that implies Mecca. When you look where Abraham lived, that's about as dumb as the day is long. But when you look where Abraham lived, according to the Quran, that's supposed to be Mecca. And this is supposed to be where Muhammad was born. So this is supposed to be pretty important. I'm going to show you a picture here where they actually have a place located where Muhammad was supposedly lived or was born. And you would think this would be where they had the Qibla established. Oh, that's right there. Okay, the sirs are listed right there, 249 to 150. But the only reference to Mecca in the Quran is in 48:24. So if it's only mentioned one time, why is it so important? And we brought this question up and compared that to the number of times Jerusalem is mentioned in the Bible. It was like 700 times or 800 times. Somebody fact checked me on that, and it all depends. I guess it all depends if you're looking at it in the Greek or if you're looking at it in the Hebrew or whatever. But it's only it's a couple hundred times. It's not just one. So Mecca is referenced as the place of the prophet. It's supposed to be in a valley, a parallel valley with a stream, according to Bukhari. Now look at this. It's supposed to have a parallel valley. Mecca does not have a valley, period, let alone a parallel valley. It's supposed to have a stream. Do I need to go back to that picture?
Well, the elephants ate it.
They drink it up. Yes, you're right.
Drank it up. Or bathed in it, and it's done.
Okay, so outside of it is the ruins, and there's a pillar of salt. Now that makes sense if it's up by the Dead Sea. Because the Dead Sea, if you walk along the Dead Sea, you can see the salt developing right there along the shore. And to have a pillar of it, well, that sounds a little bit of like Sodom and Gomorrah. And where would Sodom and Gomorrah be?
Mm-hmm.
Is that just south of Yathrib and Medina? No. Sodom and Gomorrah is up by the Dead Sea. It's on the west side of there. It has fields. Did any of those pictures look like it had fields? That's what it says in Bukhari. It has trees, grass, fruit, clay, and loam. That's according to Tirmidhi, Bukhari, Tabari. according to all those guys, this is what Mecca is supposed to have. It's supposed to have olive trees. There you go. Not one olive tree has ever been found in Mecca. There might be some olive trees there today, just to give it the panache, the look, and hopefully people won't investigate into it.
Live there though. I mean, that soil just wouldn't. I don't know. Maybe inside a one of these terrarium type things. So there's just no way.
Have you seen what they built there lately?
They keep building stuff. So.
Oh my goodness. They could, anyway. Okay. So, and then you're supposed to have mountains overlooking the Kaaba. Like that's according to the Sirah, the biography. Yeah, Ibn Hisham, but it's also according to Bukhari. But Mecca's not in a valley, and it has none of these things because why? You just said it right there, Paul. It's too arid, meaning hot, and it's too dry. This is Mecca today. This is this hills of Marwa and Safa. And instead of going in between these two hills, they built a 2 or 3 story air-conditioned ramp. You know, we can't make the Hajj too terribly difficult for people anymore, because if they did, they might break a sweat. Excuse me.
Well, especially running in a single cloth that without any undergarments. Yeah,
that'd get a little messy. What I'm thinking though is I wonder if they got one of them speed walkers like you have in airports. Have you ever seen those? I wonder if they have those in there. That'd be kind of cool if they if they did.
Might make their prayer a little too fast, so they wouldn't drop enough money then.
Yeah, you're probably right. Okay, so let's start looking at some of the earliest references to Mecca. And let's see, here's one that they have, and this is supposed to be written during I think this is supposed to be written during the time of Caliph Hisham, 741. Let's see here. The earliest maps don't show Mecca until 900, and Patricia Corona talked about the towns of Taif and Yathrib are mentioned in documents, but never Mecca. So these are just some references there to show you what is missing from evidence, not what is actually existent. Let's see here. This document here that's dated 741 does not actually mention Mecca at all. It mentions all these other places, but not Mecca. And people kind of reference this, or my understanding is that they reference this, but they never reference the city of Mecca. Now, here's what it says. It says in a description near Taif. Where's Taif? No, it doesn't have it on there. But they keep calling it this Al-Masjid Al-Haram and refers to the Kaaba. But the problem is this is way too far north. All of these other places are way too far north. They're actually in modern-day Turkey. So the original Kaaba is thought to exist in modern-day Turkey. And that would make all the sense in the world if you're up that far north compiling hadith supporting your man. It'd be more familiar with what's up there than what is down in Mecca. So it's too far north, and it's way out of the way. So when we look at the modern Mecca, this is what I wanted to get to. This is what I'm kind of excited to get to. This is a picture of modern Mecca today. Now, do you notice any archaeological digs going on around the Kaaba? The Kaaba is right here.
Oh no! Oh no!
No, they're concreting it over.
Exactly. This is what you guys were alluding to. Somebody, I think it was Ed alluded to this before. There's no way we're ever going to find anything here. Why? Because you built skyscrapers on top of the places that you should have been excavating. And before you built those skyscrapers, you should have excavated there and extracted any type of archaeological evidence that would support the existence of this Kaaba prior to that and shown the world. And if they had found anything, you can bet your bottom dollar, if they had found anything that supports the existence of Mecca, it would be in a museum and we would be looking at it 24/7 on some type of webcam. This was found, it existed at the time of the prophet. This is a piece of pottery that was found in Mecca. Look at this. The prophet himself could have drank from it. Ooh, you know darn good and well that's what would be thrown in our faces. But the fact is there ain't a doggone thing that they produced. That is a fact. Look at all these things that they're building. Just this clock tower here is 40 feet across. I think it's the 4th highest building in the world. I'm willing to be wrong on that, but they built this sucker to be one of the tallest buildings in the world. Oh, there it is, right there. 4th highest building. And it's the world's largest clock face. And some people have speculated that this is to change the time of the day changes to Greenwich Mean Time, which is in London, to change the date when days change based on that to Mecca Mean Time.
Well, not only that, they changed the historical time, after Hijra, right? So they don't even use our current time, our year of time. They go by the Hijra or after Hijra time over there, the dates. And the other thing that a friend of mine pointed out about that clock tower, and I'll have to get a really good look at it, is in Scripture it says that what is it, 7 heads and 10 horns?
Yeah, you brought this up before. Let me put that back up there. Let me see.
Yeah, you can't really see it in these pictures,
Mm-hmm.
but if you look right below the clock face, you'll see 10. God, I forget exactly what they look like, but you'll see a row of 10 and a row of 7 right there below the clock face. So I'll go do a little bit more work on that.
Let me see that on clock face of clock in Kaaba, Mecca. Okay, no, in Kaaba. Images. Okay, is this one? Is it okay? Let me drag this over here. Can you guys see this? Okay. Can you see that? Okay, Ed, what do you? Anything there that you notice or no?
You can't really see it from that angle.
How about here? No, that's not it.
There. Well, yeah.
Well, what are these things here?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But that's not correct. I'll have to go. Like I said, I'll have to go look, get the view of it again.
Huh. Well, you got our. You definitely got.
Yeah.
You got our interest peaked now. And by the way, you said that you were going to do a slideshow or presentation on Revelation, whatever it was, for us.
20 verse 4.
I think so. I think that's what you said.
Yeah,
so you're not doing it Sunday, by the way. We're doing Creeds and Confessional Sunday, but next Tuesday might be a good day.
Okay.
I don't want to put any pressure on you. It's not a big deal. Whenever you get to, I'm just kidding. Whenever you get to it, but I would be really interested in seeing that, what you come up with, because I know you've mentioned it several times. You mentioned it several times on the show.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'd kind of like to do a deeper dive on that one.
Right. Absolutely.
As Yasser Kadi says, we're going to do a deep dive, and I'm not even scuba qualified, and I still want to do a deep dive on that. All right, let's. Boy, this is going much slower than I anticipated, but that's okay. All right, so here is a picture from above. Here's the clock tower, if I'm not mistaken. Is that no? Where's the clock tower here? Maybe it's here. But I mean, look at what they've done here, all around the Kaaba. Look at what they've done all around the Kaaba. Do you see any chance of doing any type of digging underneath any of this?
Oh, no.
Any type of archaeological dig? No, there's nothing there. And when you look at the future Mecca, this is what they want. They want to expand it out even further. They want to build all these high rises out here. And rightly so. I mean, you have, millions of people flock there every year during the Hajj. And you want to have some place for them to go instead of living out in tents in the middle of the desert. And you want to have, clean facilities. You want to have a safe environment. So I would, I can see the motivation for doing that. But when you're building out here, you're cementing over what's underneath. And when you cement it over what's underneath, you never have the ability to recover any type of archaeological evidence for the existence of this city, ever.
Right.
So so are we ever going to be shown anything that demonstrates that Mecca existed prior to the 7th century? Any type of archaeological evidence? No. I mean, I don't see how you could.
And this picture that you have,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes the Kaaba look so minuscule.
Yeah.
It's just like a little dot there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
I never really looked at it like that, but yeah, look at
right. It's just like a little dot.
Yeah, look what man has done compared to what reverence
Allah has done.
Yeah. Yeah,
and Abraham, so-called.
Yeah, that kind of puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you would think that the Kaaba would be as big as Big Ben because that's what Allah did and Allah prescribed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they're really showing their muscle. It just tells you that it's a man-made religion. Even just looking at this picture.
Men are definitely running it now. The people from Saudi Arabia use it. And think of this. How much of this is a result of you filling up your car? How much of that is possible because you buy their oil and fill up your car every week? I would say quite a bit. They're taking our petrodollars and building stuff like this, which I think is absolutely disgusting. All right. What are we doing here? Why isn't my slide? Oops, I'm pushing the wrong button. That's why. This is supposed to be the future of it. Kind of an artist rendition. What they're build all around it. This is a scaled model of what they.
It sure does look like Babylon to me.
Yes. If you want me to send this to you, Ed, and you want to use it during your presentation, that's fine too. Here's another rendition of future Mecca, and look at here. Here you have look at this. Okay. So here is the Royal Mecca Clock Tower right here. It says here, this is the expansion of the Grand Mosque. So they're building the mosque this way. Right over here. This is the Prophet's wife's house. Is this Khadijah? This is supposed to be where Khadijah lived. And this is supposed to be the birthplace and the place where Muhammad lived. Now, if you have these things available right there, why can't you provide us any archaeological evidence for their existence in the 7th century? Where is it? If this is supposed to be the traditional sites of where these people lived, you should be able to dig down and provide some type of evidence that these places existed in the 7th century. The world is waiting with bated breath for this stuff to be brought up. The only thing, Dan Gibson's also said this several times, where he's asked for evidence of this, and he said he went to an archaeological conference a number of years ago, and the only thing that these people had come up with is the fact that they had a sandal, something from a sandal, I think maybe, I don't know, from the 11th century Ottoman Empire. That's it. I'm serious. That's the only thing they have. That's the only thing they have. I don't want to say that's the only thing they have. That's the only thing that's the thing that goes the furthest back. I think they said it was the 11th or 12th century, and that is incredible. If that's the only thing that you can find from the 11th to 12th century, it's the only far back as you can go, and that should say a lot of things. Especially when you factor in after 250 years, and they did change the Qibla direction to Mecca, you would think you would be able to find something around the 9th or 10th century, but they're not even finding that. So if they changed the direction of the Qibla in the 9th and 10th century, and they were in fact praying towards that direction, you would think that we would find evidence of people along the way making hijra, or no, not hijra, Hajj, making Hajj, getting to Mecca. You would think that we would have some type of evidence of their practicing the Hajj and all the things that they did prior to that. And we don't. There's nothing there. So this whole thing is nothing but what most people would call, a black hole. And I would agree. It is a black hole. There's nothing there to support the evidence of the existence of Mecca.
You know what it also sounds like? It just sounds like that they're trying to write a new history. Here's Khadija's house.
Right. Well, they also have a cemetery there that they claim was from that time period. I just kind of brought up the next slide here, and I do have something here. I'm sorry, I should have been more careful on this. This ruins was an Ottoman fort in 1299 is what they found. An Ottoman fort. Just an artifact. Oh wait, no ruins or artifacts. It was just what was left of an Ottoman fort from 1299, and that's it. That's the only thing they have. That
doesn't prove Islam. That just proves an Ottoman fort, right?
Right. That's all that proves. It's just the Ottomans had a fort there. Then that was it. And the Ottomans thought that there was evidence, or that this was Mecca, and this was supposed to be the place that they're supposed to go. And they thought that all this was true. They didn't know that there was a complete absence of any other type of evidence. And they didn't have the ability to, use the scientific method as far as determining, okay, what strata do you dig in? What would normally cover this up over what type of, time period, or what type of pottery was used at this time? They don't have that. They didn't have that ability. They didn't have that type of exacting science that we have today. And I'm going to say that the science is that exact, but it gets you close. But they don't have anything that even gets you close here. Nothing.
It reminds me of what they claim that Muhammad said in the Hadiths. Whatever the Jews did, act differently. If they stand up in the funeral, then y'all sit down at a funeral. So instead of them using the techniques of working archaeology, digging things up, they're like, act differently. Okay, well then we'll lay concrete everywhere.
Well, that's what they've done. Mm-hmm. Why build something like this? Why cement over all of this and make it impossible to do any type of serious archaeology? When this was brought up.
Act differently. It's just. That's why I keep on saying. That's why a lot of them are leaving Islam. Because they're not even wanting to follow history. They're not wanting to follow how archaeology works. How discovery works. They're doing the opposite. And many are leaving. And thank God for that.
Well, I would just, and this is, again, going back to this point that I made earlier, and I agree with that. They might be doing it just despite, that's the scientific method that you Kafirs developed. We can't use Kafir science here. So we're going to develop our own archaeological evidence. Just say so. It's there. We just cemented over it. And that's exactly what they did. They cemented over the entire thing. And they destroyed any ability or possibility to determine these things. We brought this up on Sunday. Dominic did. Well, Dominic mentioned it, but it was where it was called the Sifting Project, where the Muslims were excavating underneath the Temple Mount, and they were taking all that dirt out and just dumping it in a dump outside of town. Well, when the Jews found out what was going on here, they went out and sifted through all that stuff, and you never guess what they found. They started finding archaeological evidence for the existence of Jews in the land.
Yep.
I think it takes you back clear to the 5th, 6th,
Time of-
7th century. I mean, BC.
Mhm.
It takes you clear back there. And if they're doing it, and the Muslims there want to, of course, destroy that, because a lot of them say, well, no, the Jews never even had a presence. Some of them, I don't know how many say this. Maybe you guys would know better than I do. But do they actually teach that the Jews never had a presence in Israel prior to the 1st century? Am I wrong on this? I've heard that this is taught in some circles, but I don't know. I don't know if that's true. Anybody? Things look a little silent tonight, and that's okay, because I got to run anyway, because we got revival services tonight that I got to skedaddle to. So let's just go ahead around the horn. Does anybody have anything that they want to add to this, Connie? Since you're here and you're still active, anything that you want to add to this that we need to know? Any observations that you want to provide us?
No, not really. You did really good.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
How about Mr. Dr. Kufar Phobia, critical thinker himself? Anything? Or maybe he's out. No, he's here. There he is. Hello.
I'm here. No,
right.
it was an awesome presentation. I'm not sure I can add to it.
Okay.
I mean, it's not about science in the Quran. It's a
Well,
little out of my league.
Well, it's kind of an what do they call it? Oxymoronic terms, science and Quran.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, how about John? John, do you have anything to add? If you're still here, I know you.
No, thank you so much. It's a very awesome presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, we appreciate you coming, John. I know you and Critical Thinker are like, you're probably jonesing right about now because you haven't been able to get on Clubhouse or listen to Clubhouse for the past hour and a half. And
maybe we should change our names. That's the problem.
Maybe. Okay, Ed, you got anything you want to throw in there? Anything observations that you want to make?
No, I'm good this round. Thank you.
Okay, all right, good. How about Dr. Kabir Isa? You know, he comes in, he logs in, and then he goes off and does he's kind of like okay, I'm not going to say it, but he's kind of like a multitasker. He's good at multitasking. And I'm not. How about Paul? Is Paul still here?
I think the thing that's left here is you presented an incredibly incredible good scholarly presentation on is Mecca, the concept of Mecca during Muhammad's day, real, and the evidence that does not exist and is absent for that actual existence. So, Muslims, it's people who will follow Islam, leave it, find Jesus. That's the leave Islam and find Jesus. That's where we're at.
And that's the whole purpose of why I do this. It isn't to tear down a faith. It is the purpose here is to cause you to reflect on your faith and then start comparing it with Christianity, because these people are taught that Christianity is false. We know it's false because the Bible has been corrupted, and they believe that Jesus is a God and he couldn't. God can't even enter his career. All of these things that you have been taught about Christianity, many of them are wrong, and many of these things that you've been taught about your own religion are wrong also and cannot be demonstrated as being factual. And when we start looking at Mecca, this is one of those foundational pillars of Islam itself. So you need to ask yourself, if Mecca did not exist in the 7th century at the time of Muhammad, and all of your hadith literature, all of your seerah literature, all of your tasfiric, would that be a proper tasfir literature, and even the literature that comes from the Quran itself says that Mecca existed, and you come to find out that it does not. There's nothing supporting that. What would that do to your faith?
Well, my biggest thing that I get out of this, Eric, as much as I look at the non-existence of that, which is likely for non-existence of Mecca, the thing that should hit every follower of Islam is the lack of importance of Mecca in the Quran. The lack of importance. So if it's so important and it's only mentioned once, why do they go there and celebrate and do all these things in Mecca if it's only mentioned once? And then there's a question on if that's Becca or Mecca. So
Right. And
it's
we've gone through
something to
that,
think
yeah.
about. If it's so important, I mean, as was demonstrated in the beginning of today, Jerusalem was mentioned about 800 times, I believe it was 700 and some odd times. If there's actual importance for Mecca, it should be in the Quran, and it doesn't exist.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. And when you evaluate that again and compare that to the Bible and the number of times that Jerusalem is mentioned, don't you think that God would have mentioned it at least more than one time? Why is he mentioning Talmud? Why does he mention Ad or Midian, all these other places, dozens more times when they're 600 miles away from Mecca? I know these are tough questions that demand answers, and I would be interested in hearing some type of scholarly reply here, some type of coherent, cogent apologetic provided for reason why these things are in the Quran, why they are in the Hadith literature, why they're in the Sirah. I'd like to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Can we ask Dr. Kabir if he can hear us now and if he has any final words?
No.
Okay.
Isa, are you there? Isa.
He probably stepped away.
Well, he logged in. He was here, and then he logged in with this other account. So I bumped him out of the other one and I put him here. So I don't know. Maybe he's having some type of communication. We've had communication problems before. We all have. Okay, so folks, I do got to get up. I am officially
late.
2 minutes. I got to get 2 minutes to drive 7 minutes. So pray for me that I don't get a ticket. God bless y'all. And
all right, God bless you.
And we'll see you all Sunday. We'll talk about the creeds and the confessions. Thanks for coming, guys.
God bless. Take care.